The following game has no ESRB rating, nor is there any sort of listing for restrictive content found within the game. From what I've seen so far, it does contain space combat, explosions, ships on fire, and what the game considers strong language, although I don't believe that language is considered cursing in modern day civilization terms, but it's still there, and the meaning, I believe, is readily visible, if not overtly listed as such. That being said, if I were to guess as to what its rating would have been, I would say it would most likely have been rated T for teen by the ESRB. So, given that assumption, and again, it is assumption, so of course, viewer discretion is advised, I recommend anyone under the age of 13 not watch the following video. You have been warned. Greetings and salutations, I am Outlier and I bid you welcome to this channel. Joining me today is of course my usual co-hosts, Snowball and Wolf. And today we are returning back to Starhammer the Vanguard Prophecy. So the premise of Starhammer the Vanguard Prophecy is that you play as the commander of a space-based naval strike group, protecting your home colony world from the various threats that face it. Well, quite a few, surprisingly, including everything from pirate raiders to rebels, who may actually be the exact same organization, to an alien menace that is essentially, I don't know the scientific term for squid, but they're called squids, but basically space-based squids that threaten your colony's survival, future, what have you. Basically, back before the game began, the people of your colony made first contact with this alien species known as the Nautilids. I don't know if just because the Nautilids are hostile or humanity is hostile. Or it's just a case that somebody misinterpreted something, but humanity and the Nautilids have fought a war known as the First Contact War, some 50 some odd years ago, I believe. That war ended with either a stalemate or a loss to the Nautilids because they disappeared. Until the second, third, fourth mission of this game, where they reappeared, and they are once again threatening the orbital facilities in and around the planet's gravity well. I think if not just the planet's gravity well, then certainly the system. And while we had the option to investigate and track down the various bandits and pirates and rebels that blew up our commanding officer's flagship, as well as the spaceship of one of our close rivals/friends, I opted to defend the starbase that we're protecting from the Nautilids, because the last time I failed to
well, I chose, I should say, not to defend something. Things went badly and they got attacked anyway. So, yeah, I opted to play a more defensive role, and we've been fighting the Nautilid for the past couple of missions, if you haven't seen the prior episode that I've made of this game. And we're still in the middle of that conflict, or skirmish, or engagement, or whatever fill in the blank term you wish to call it. And that's where I'm picking it back up from. And I should mention that this isn't a first-person shooter or Starship Command game like Starpoint and Gemini is. It's a turn-based strategy game, for lack of a better term. Well, I'll explain that shortly as the game starts up, but you'll see. So I feel the need to mention that before I actually start anything, and as such, this game is of course made by... Thank you again. And that being said, let us begin. Okay, so here is the, well, I guess campaign map, for lack of a better term. These symbols denote newsworthy notices and bulletins. It's basically, if you've seen last episode, I've already read all of these if memory serves. Essentially, because I had a choice between protect DB5, I think it is, or 2, or basically the station down here, or track the pirates, because I opted to fight the Nautilids. The pirate angle is still unknown, so there's a lot of question as to their motives and why they are attacking people and all that fun stuff. I'm guessing had I chose to investigate the pirates as opposed to fighting the Nautilids, there'd be all these casualty reports floating around this starbase. And speaking of this starbase, this game has a branching storyline, I believe, technically. So right now I have an option between two different missions, and if I pick one, I don't believe I can go back and play the other. Now there's also this thing known as War Scale, which I think affects what missions I can take, and dialogue, and all that fun stuff. Currently I'm at a defensive War Scale. So one of them is portside defense, where the yardsman Feliciter is asking for naval defenses along both port and starboard sides of the station against the incoming pods. The pod is basically a Nautilid strike group. Port side of DM2, that's the starbase's name, is wide open to the broad sweeps of the approaching Nautilids. AK, I believe that's our handler, for lack of a better term. Basically, he's the guy that sits back at command and sends us our orders from the upper brass. At least I think that's who he is. Says this side will be targeted with their heavy artillery, but the open space should leave us more room to maneuver around and flank the hostiles. And clear the port side of Delta Mark II of Nautilids. Or I can choose starboard sweep, and again, Yarman Feliciter is asking for naval defenses along both port and starboard sides of the station against the incoming pods. The hostiles have to make sharp trajectory changes to turn into the starboard side of the station. You can expect smaller, faster pods on this side, which means less room to move. On the plus side, only the smaller forces can make it this far around. Sweep out the crow-threatening starboard Delta Mark II. And this mission gives me aggressive war scale, or at least it's set up as a aggressive stance, whereas this one's defensive. And as I said, war scale is currently defensive. So if I want to increase the defensive war scale, I should technically fight the larger ships. But the larger ships have ship-killing missiles and other capabilities that I ended up burning through a lot of my ships' capabilities, just trying to avoid missiles and other fun things that I would like to avoid. So I'm actually partial to just simply fighting these smaller ships, even if I have less room to maneuver. I mean, I have somewhat large ships and a pair of smaller vessels, and I usually don't seem to have much of a problem fighting a dozen krill or so. Well, watch, it'd be like 3 or 4 dozen. Anyway, I guess I can always reload if I absolutely positively need to, but let's take on the Krill on the starboard side. And this is the fleet dispersal, well, fleet selection and formation screen, so I can choose, before the mission actually starts, I can choose where I want my strike group positioned and the formation that they're in. So currently I have one destroyer, the Hammerhead class Peanut Bar. I also have the Albatross class Pound Cake Frigate, the Nemo class Biscuit Corvette, and all of them have been at one point in time my flagships. I also have a Swordfish class Honey Raider and a Swordfish class Jam Raider. If you can't tell, I've been naming all of my ships after baked goods and, well, technically filling for the Raiders. I technically do have a third Swordfish known as Butter, but I can only deploy so many ships at once, and I have more ships than I have the ability to deploy. Now, I can also call in reinforcements that will be available next mission. That's what this is for. But I generally only seem to have a fixed number of points, and every ship, even the smallest one, usually costs more points than I actually have available. But I can get a Raider, a Corvette, a Frigate, or a Light Cruiser. Yeah, I can... no destroyer. Of course, it looks like the Light Cruiser only has a laser on the front. You know, every ship has arcing, well, has weapon arcs you gotta keep track of. But as I said, I can't actually get any new ships because I have 89 points of reinforcement available, and the cheapest vessel, the Swordfish, costs 110. And I like to think that this is building, but I'm not entirely certain that it is. Seems like every time I turn around, it's a different number. Every time I look at the screen, I should say, it's a different number. So that's my strike group composition, and this is the formation I've been generally going with. So I have the Peanut Bar, that's the highlighted ship in the middle, our flagship, hanging in the middle of the formation with the Pound Cake and Biscuit off to the port and starboard sides. And then I have our little strike craft, the Raiders, the Honey and the Jam, at the dorsal and ventral facings of the Peanut Bar. And again, the butter doesn't get to come along because until I can get an extra command point without getting an extra ship by default, I can't field it. That or I lose one of the other vessels. Anyway, so let's start the mission. Alright, starboard sweep. Alright, defend Delta Mark II. Yardsman Henrique, we're started cleaning up the starboard. How's your port side holding up? The mobiles are holding them at bay. Haven't needed to activate the ATDPs yet, thankfully. I'm guessing that's some sort of defensive platform. Since when does a Delta Mark use CGF turret systems instead of naval platforms? Since the last 3 times Walkington ignored my security breach requests. You're the first naval group I've had active in my yard for 4 years. That's worrisome. But you're the primary shipbuilder. If DM2 went down, Novus is landlocked. Chalk it up to justifiable risks by pencil pushers, dice. I don't remember who Novus is. But basically, we're the only strike group available, and apparently the starbase has mobile defenses available, which are holding back the other side. And if they break through the other side, apparently the one and only shipyard, which has been ignored over and over again by the top brass, has its own defensive turrets. So, should be interesting. So, that's the initial exchange, and I'm just trying to remember the camera controls. It's been a while since I've played. So let's zoom out. Rotate. Left, back, right, back, left, and forward, I should say. So what's... Okay, that's focus. Shield distribution. Okay, so that's zoom in. Nothing to repair. Okay. That's what we get for playing with all the little buttons. Alright, so it looks like I got a whole bunch of krill to worry about. So there's 3 krill here. It's like another pair here. I'm sorry, another 3 here. And then I know I saw another pod over here. Another 3 krill here. So I got 9 krill between me and the station, which is a very bad position for me to be in because I need to protect the station, and the enemies are closer to it than we are. What I don't see, and what I find interesting, is that there's only 9 krill here. Like I said, I've had to fight over a dozen or so more, and I would have expected, well, more of them. But I guess reinforcements will show up, or I'll see what's going on. As I said, they are between me and the station, so that could be its own primary worry. As for the how the game is played, as I said, it's somewhat turn-based. So I'm in the middle of my turn right now, and I basically move any and all of my ships. So I can move a ship by selecting it, and then moving its little holographic icon, this thingy right here. So basically, I can move it anywhere within this curved trapezoidal cone thing, I should say. Can't talk anymore. And that will be where the ship ends up next turn. So the biscuit, I can move. I'll have move here so that way you can directly fight the krill. And I do have weapon arcs currently active. So the biscuit has a forward primary arc, and then a secondary after arc of a small laser battery, whereas the primary arc is, I believe, medium lasers. And then the pound cake has primary arcs of medium lasers being on the port and starboard sides, with a stun beam ion cannon laser to the fore. So while the biscuit is good at fighting things should be used for fighting things directly ahead of it, the pound cake is more used for broadside assaults. So while I'll have the biscuit turn this way, I'll have the pound cake turn a shallower turn. And in addition to doing that, just so that way it can hopefully get its broadsides on the krill faster, it also won't slam into the peanut bar because you can actually ram other vessels. And I'll have the peanut bar move here and its arc to keep kind of the formation, and the destroyer that I have has heavy lasers to the port and starboard and a laser beam to the fore, so that's what these arcs are. Also, my ships do have special weapons. The pound cake has anti-missile countermeasures, so I can fire off a countermeasure at some point, and it'll attract any incoming missiles to blow up the countermeasure. And I believe it also makes standard weapon turrets harder to hit their targets, or at least enemy standard weapon turrets harder to hit their targets. And by contrast, the biscuit has missiles, and it only has 4 missiles when the pound cake has 9 countermeasures, because I've used quite a bit in the past couple missions, and you don't get resupply in between missions, only in between engagements. So if this is the last engagement for this chapter, well, this is the last battle for this chapter, I should say, then the next battle I should get restocked on missiles and countermeasures, and the destroyer doesn't have special weapons, but I can get resupplied with all of that. But if it's not, anything that I use up now, I can't use next mission, where I may or may not need it, which is part of the reason why I wanted to fight just the krill, because I used a lot of my missiles and countermeasures last time, and I don't know what's coming because I don't play this game in my free time. But anyway, so those are the 3 main vessels of the strike group moved. The only remaining ones are my raiders, or swordfish as they're officially called. And I'll have them move in conjunction with the destroyer, so they'll still stay relatively above and below it. And unlike the other ships, the swordfish only have light lasers to the front, so anything that they fight and that they dogfight with if they want to shoot at it, it's going to stay. It has to stay in their front arc. No port, starboard, or aft firings. All right, and now that I have everybody moved where I want to go, and I can also adjust their shields and power allotment and all that fun stuff, which I'll probably do once the actual fight ensues. So I won't go out over it in depth here. But as I was saying, now that every ship has been moved where I wanted to move you a little bit further ahead, I then can hit the show battle button, which basically causes everything to move. So if I hit this, everything plays out in a somewhat cinematic way. So the krill came this way and then they turned around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So still 9 krill. It looks like just 3 of them are hanging back by the... 4 of them, I should say, are hanging back by the station, whereas the other 5 are turning towards my fleet. So since they're turning towards the fleet, I'm going to have the peanut bar swing this way. So that way, hopefully they can get, well, these guys in their forward arc, and then this one in their side arc. Or port arc, I should say. And the swordfish, for now, will follow suit with the peanut bar, just because, you know, might as well keep the fleet together for as long as I can. And have the biscuit turn as well as the pound cake. In fact, I'll have them turn in slightly sharper, just so that way, hopefully, we can get the krill onto the port gun arc. Alright, and then we proceed again, and they open fire. Right, so it looks like they managed to kill 1 krill right off the bat. The destroyer does have that capability. It's quite powerful. That's why it's a flagship. So there's now 4 krill threatening my fleet. And it looks like they took a couple shots. So... I mean, the peanut bar shields are perfectly fine. As is the jam. Although the honey took a couple hits. So not enough to be really worrisome. I mean, they only lost 1 point of front shielding. So I won't adjust anything just yet. Except, well, their angle of attack. So I'm going to have the pound cake swing this way to hopefully get its starboard arc onto these krill. And maybe the stun beam can hit this one. Maybe, kind of, sort of ish. Probably, but maybe not. Then I'll have the biscuit swing this way. Well, actually, you know what? I'll have the biscuit just fly straight ahead, because these 3 krill are in its forward arc. And I'll have the peanut bar turn this way a little bit, so that way, I mean, its forward arc probably won't hit anything, but hopefully the krill will fly into its side arc. And as for the jam and the honey, I'll have them swing this way, and see if they can get after these krill still over by the starbase. Yeah, that looks almost like a plan. Let's see who dies. Alright, well, on the plus side, the laser can actually shoot at an extremely odd angle. Yeah, it's just extreme angle, not odd. But I think they killed another krill. Yeah, that one's dead now. So... angle the camera slightly up. So I have these 2 krill to worry about, and it looks like that they're swinging into the biscuits, well, past the biscuit, I should say. So I'll have the biscuit swing slightly this way. Hopefully they won't fly into any of the krill. The pound cake I'll keep on this trajectory to hopefully keep these 2 krill in its side arcs. The peanut bar has this one and this one in its arc, but as it's moving, and this one will probably move out of it. I gotta remember, the green glowing bit is the front of the ship, so there's that. But I'll have them turn this way to hopefully fly past these krill. If not, then they'll smack into them. And I'll have the swordfish continue on going straight. So this looks like a plan for now. Alright, so I gotta admit, I was watching over here, so I didn't really see what happened over here. But it looks like that there's only 5 krill now. And I did see that the destroyer lasered yet another one. So now that they're essentially to the side and behind the destroyer, I'll have the destroyer swing around this way to hopefully keep these guys in its starboard arc. Then I'll have the... which one am I holding? The jam swing this way, but the honey swing this way to hopefully go after the krill. And then I'll have the biscuit turn this way to keep these guys in its forward arc. And the pound cake turns this way to see if it can try to fight that one. I don't think anybody's heavily damaged, although the peanut bar has taken a couple more hits to its forward shield, so let me just drain the other shield slightly to reinforce that one. And since I've already set up movement, I don't want to adjust power levels, because that affects how far they can go, because the more power I take from weapons and engines, to power shields, the less damage it does, and the ship does, I should say, and the slower and not as far as it... Well, it doesn't move as far, that's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, let's continue. Alright, okay, and they don't really... Well, I believe there is a way to target specific things, but I don't remember what that command is. Anyway, there's still 4 krill here, and it looks like that they've damaged quite a few of them. So I'll have the biscuit turn this way. Maybe slightly here. Yeah, he's actually pointed away from us. So I'll have the biscuit do a more extreme arc. See if I can get this krill in the forward arc. Whereas this injured krill looks like it's heading this way. This one's severely injured, so have the pound cake keep moving in this trajectory to hopefully keep this in its starboard arc. And the jam is going to fly past everybody, so it starts turning this way. The honey, if I can select it, turns this way to hopefully start shooting other things. And then the peanut bar, because it's losing more and more shields, I'm going to adjust its shield capabilities to 41% shields, 27% engines, because I actually do get a bonus on engines still, but keep weapons relatively the same. And I said 41, not 40. And the reason why 41 is important, because above 40% for shield power, and the shields will actually start recharging. So the shields will start recharging at a rate of 0.11 per second. I don't know if that's... well, I'm fairly certain it's like one shield... a little over 1/10 of the shield point per second. So every 10 seconds I get a new shield point for, I would assume, each shield. But don't hold them to that. Now, I don't know how long each turn technically lasts, if it's 10 seconds or 5 or 6 or so. I also don't know if it stacks, so if it takes 10 seconds to recharge 1 point of shields and each turn lasts 5 seconds, does it 2 turns recharge 1 point, or does it require like 10 per turn in order to recharge something? But anyway, since this guy looks like it's actually going to start flying into the peanut bar, I'm actually going to have the peanut bar do an extreme turn this way. Or hard turn, as I think it's called. But don't hold me to that either. I'm about as familiar with space-based or even standard ship terminology as I am with anything else I don't understand. Anyway, so let's go. Oh, there's a krill over here now. Yeah, as I suspected, more krill have shown up, because there's now 4 krill over here. And make that quite a few more krill. And remember when I said that I would hope only be fighting krill? Yeah. Yeah, that's not happening. I got bigger and bigger ships. What do the disruptors do again? I don't remember. I'm assuming they disrupt things, so we should probably keep our distance. Anyway, I think they managed to kill this krill. But there's still 2 krill of the original group left. And 4 more flying in. Followed by the rest of their force, which is 3, 5, 6, 7 more krill. 8, 9, 10, 11... 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 krill, and looks like 4 disruptors. Anybody else coming in from this side? No. Okay, good. So if the disruptors considered their smaller ship, what would the big ships be? And you know what? I don't want to know what the big ships would be considered, because I don't want to fight them. Anyway, so the peanut bar turns around this way. The biscuit, well, pound cake I should say, turns around this way. The biscuit does a hard turn, just to sweep around this way, and the biscuit will hopefully keep something in its, well, some sort of firing arc. Then I'll have the jam swing around to meet these krill. The same with the honey. So hopefully the 3 big ships will take care of these 2 krill remaining, and then we can focus on this wave, and then the next wave, and then the disruptors. Or everything all at once, because we are now outnumbered again for the umpteenth time. Anybody else taking significant damage? Not all that much. Anyway, so now we see what happens. Alright, so on the plus side, at least 2 krill have died, I think. I would say all the krill from the initial wave, but no, there's still 1 there. So I'll have the peanut bar just keep moving forward. And the pound cake make a turn here, so hopefully this krill ends up in its port arc and it dies. The biscuit will turn this way to hopefully swing after these krill. And also have the honey swing back after these guys. And the jam I really need to keep track of, because it's right in front of a krill, and if I keep having it go on its trajectory, it's going to slam into this krill for rather significant shield damage. And it looks like, since it's that close, no matter what I do, it's going to get tagged. So I'm actually going to have the jam drop a level, because that is a thing, and basically do a hard turn around to hopefully avoid the krill. Also, it has taken a couple hits to several shield facings, so let's pull from engines again to reinforce the shields. Right, and that changes its arc, although it's no longer under getting attacked, but again, it's at a lower level, so it can't do a full 180, but it'll be close enough. Hopefully. Haven't lost a ship yet, but there's still time. Alright, so the peanut bar just basically lasered this krill that's over here, and another one. I'm not seeing the krill that was over here, so I'm guessing the the pound cake took care of that one, and if I keep the trajectories the same, it's the pound cake is going to slam into the peanut bar. So I'll have The pound cake swing this way to hopefully keep these krill in its starboard arc. The peanut bar will swing this way to basically take on the next wave of suicidal krill. Same with the biscuit. The jam will go back up to its original level now that it's no longer in danger of being rammed by a krill, and swing back this way. Also, lock the forward and rear shields, and just add, and the top shield, just pull a couple points from the left and right shields to reinforce the bottom shield, because that was taking quite a few hits. Then have the honey swing back this way because more krill here. And also, I'll have it readjust its engines as well so it starts recharging shield power. And then back over here. So the only ships that shouldn't be charging shields would be the biscuit and the pound cake, because I haven't touched them yet. Alright, so now we see what happens. Okay, so more krill died, and... What swordfish are you? The jam took quite a few hits, although its shields are still relatively intact. It did take a couple of hits to the left-hand side, so we'll just bump that up a point, pulling from everywhere. And I'll have it swing back. I think it's a plane higher than everybody else, so... have it swing back this way, so that way it's not basically pointed directly at every krill on the map. Have the pound cake move this way slightly, hopefully get this krill back in its side arc. But you know what? Yeah, I'll have the jam keep on that trajectory, because if it turns around, it's going to have to fly through every krill on the map. But I'll have the honey do that, because why not? And then the peanut bar will just keep flying straight ahead. And I'll move the Corvette slightly this way. Well, it looks like that the Corvette has taken, well, the biscuit has taken quite a few hits to the left-hand side. So I'm going to pull shields from the right side to reinforce the left. Somewhat. Also, more power to the shields, taking from engines. Just angle them slightly back this way. Yeah, pound cake's fine for now. Alright, and now we see how many more krill we can wipe out. Before the big guys show up. And the big guys have shown up. Right, so the pound cake's about to fly into a krill if it already hasn't. And so... if I bring it up a level, will it miss them? Maybe, kind of, probably, maybe not. It's a big ship, so who knows. Pound cake will swing... well, the pound cake swing this way to see if it can get its starboard arcs against more of the krill. Have the jam try to swing around... I mean, I would say have the jam try to swing around this way to get around the krill, but a lot of the krill seem to be pointing in this direction, and the disruptors are over here, so probably a bad-ish idea. But I'll have the jam swing back this way then. Whereas the honey will swing back around to hopefully take care of the main, well, reinforce the main force. Alright, so on the plus side, the peanut bar did not actually hit anybody. On the minus side, I think maybe one krill died, and the disruptors are now have joined the battle, for lack of a better term. So you know how I mentioned that the Corvette has missiles and they're a limited supply, and I can't get very many more until after such and such thing has happened. Yeah, let's fire off a couple. Alright, so let's target this disruptor and fire one missile because I only have 4 left. And I don't want to blow all of them all in one fight, or at the very least in one volley. So I'll have the pound cake. I just power to start recharging shields. And it literally does not move very far or at all. So I'm basically going to have him swing this way to keep its starboard arc on something. Anything, hopefully. A decent amount of shields. I won't adjust them just yet. Alright, so the peanut bar is taking quite a few hits to the forward shields. So I'll lock the top, bottom, and rear shields. Essentially pull from the left and right. And then they're going to swing this way to hopefully get their primary laser on the disruptors. And then the swordfish will turn, well, the jam and the honey I should say, will turn, where's the, here we are. Just have them swing this way. And then the biscuit will turn this way. Hopefully the missile won't hit my own ships. That's my main worry. I mean, if it wings a krill and takes one out, I'm fine, but I just don't want to do one of my own guys. That's happened. Right, so the disruptors have fired off their primary primary abilities, which I think disrupts the shield, or at least power output. So the peanut bar has taken quite a few hits to the right shield, so I'm just going to pull from everywhere to reinforce that. And they're going to, I think they're actually a plane higher than the disruptors, although it does not look like it. I mean, it looks like they're about to fly into them. They are about to fly into them. Interesting. Alright, so I'll drop the peanut bar down a level. Hopefully they will miss them completely. And turn so that way hopefully the disruptors stay in their side arc. And then the biscuit turns this way. Because it's going to fly past everybody anyway. The pound cake turns here. Have the jam swing this way to hopefully go after the krill. Same with the honey. Now, I don't like the way the disruptors are angled, so I'll have the jam do an extreme arc because I'm worried it'll fly into the disruptor. I'm also worried that the biscuit will fly into the disruptor as well. And I can rotate the camera. Yeah, they look to be on the same plane. So, angle it slightly this way. Same with the peanut bar. Because I gotta remember, I do have these two disruptors to worry about as well. As well as, what, a dozen krill still? Let's see what happens. Okay, so nobody hit anybody, and we're good for now. Kinda, sorta, ish, maybe. This disruptor is still relatively healthy. This one's slightly injured. I mean, the peanut bar was taking some pot shots at it, but they hit the peanut bar quite a bit. Its rear shield is down to half health. So let's pull from everywhere to repower that. And have it do a hard turn this way to, well, basically shoot at anything and everything. And have the biscuit turn as well to hopefully get something in its forward arc. I'll have the honey fly straight forward to hopefully get past the krill, and then they'll swing back around next turn. Whereas I'll have the jam just swing around naturally now. And then the pound cake will move slightly, well, forward. I mean, it's basically the slowest out of all of my ships so far. And any other new surprises I should worry about? Yes, no, maybe? Alright, I'm not seeing anything, even though I've zoomed out the map as far as I can go, or at the very least, moved the camera back as far as I can go, so I'm assuming this is the entire fight, until I get more surprises. So, basically right now, 4 disruptors and probably about a dozen-ish krill. Alright, so now we continue. And they're just swinging at everybody. So, I mean, if I keep going the way that they are going, the peanut bar will slam into the biscuit. So I'll have them do yet another hard turn. And their energy systems are still being disrupted, and their left shield is collapsing. So since everything seems to be on their port side, let's actually max that out. Lock that, and max out rear shields as well. And the biscuit doesn't have the ability to move because it actually did slam into something. So its navigation is offline. So if I don't want the peanut bar to hit it, it really does have to make this hard turn. Even then, it might still actually hit it. This is why I like keeping some of my ships on different planes. So I'll have the pound cake turn this way to keep practically the entire enemy assault force in its starboard arc. I'll have the jam swing around, and the honey do a slightly more severe turn. So that way, most of the enemy battle group stays within their forward arcs. Oh, there's also a krill over here that I didn't see. Okay. Right, so even though the my vessel couldn't move, it could still fire, and I think they dropped a couple more krill. At the very least, they took some slightly more. They took a couple more hits, and the peanut bar is about to once again slam clean into this disruptor that's slightly injured. I mean, it's got 118 out of 150 health left. And the front shields on the peanut bar are at just over half health. So let's be honest. I'm basically pulling one side to protect another. And let's jump the peanut bar up a plane so that way they don't slam into the disruptor and basically fly over this disruptor. The biscuit, however, will do a hard turn. I mean, let's be honest. It's probably not going to get its forward arc into anything. But it's going to do a hard turn this way to hopefully next turn come across somebody. The pound cake will turn slightly to hopefully keep everything over here in its side arc. And I'll have the biscuit and the jam, I'll just shift over to hit other things. Right, and unfortunately, the peanut bar didn't move far enough to actually, well, get out of the way of this disruptor, and they slammed into each other. And they now have almost no forward shield. They don't have any forward shield, actually. So let's pull from everywhere just to get the forward shield back online. Also drop the left shield slightly. Maybe 2 more points. 1 more point. There we go. That way they're protected from the front because everybody's at their front. Alright, the jam seems to be fine, as does the honey. So I'll have them swing around this way to hopefully target more of these krill. The peanut bar will go this way because it looks like this disruptor is actually heading straight towards it. And then the biscuit will turn this way to hopefully get, well, the unmoving disruptor into its arc, and it'll just start wailing away at it. At the very least, hopefully the peanut bar's laser will actually shoot things. I mean, this one, because they slammed into each other, this disruptor's at 36 health, and this disruptor's at 71. Also, the port and starboard batteries fire independently of the laser, so hopefully at least some of these krill in the side arcs will get hit. Alright, so it didn't laser the one that I thought it was going to laser, but it did laser one of them. And I don't think it actually took many hits, so the shield should be fine. It seemed like everybody was going after this disruptor, so I'll have the the pound cake turns this way to hopefully keep these disruptors in its arcs. The biscuit will turn slightly here, so that way it doesn't slam into this disruptor. I'll have the peanut bar move this way to not slam into anything. And there's still this krill over here. I have forgotten about it actually. Same with this krill over here. So I have the jam swing more this way to hopefully be able to take out this krill. And the honey will turn this way. Too bad, this way. Alright, and now we see what happens. Okay, so more ships are taking more hits. I think my strat group's dealing out more damage than they're taking, which I'm perfectly fine with. The pound cake's right shield is now down to 56%, so I'm just going to pull from everywhere to reinforce it to about as equal as it is with the left-hand shield. And then I'm going to have it do a hard turn. Well, maybe not a hard turn. Basically turn this way to hopefully keep at least this disruptor in its side arc, because it looks like it's heading towards the starbase. Even though I'm fairly certain the starbase is just there as a prop, and they can't actually target it during the actual mission. But it looks like the krill that was over here is dead now. So I don't have to worry about that. So I'll have the honey swing back. Well, I'll have the honey do a hard turn this way to hopefully shoot at these two disruptors as it passes, and then target something over here. And I'll have the jam basically do the same but opposite. Of the biscuit turn this way to... Yeah, turn this way to keep these guys being hit. And then I'll have the peanut bar swing around this disruptor, hopefully shooting it and hopefully killing it. But now we see what happens. Alright, so this disruptor fired off something. It didn't actually get killed, but it was severely damaged. And this krill didn't get hit, but a couple more krill died. In fact, I think it's just the 4 disruptors and 2 krill now. I think all the other krill have died, which I'm fine with. So I'll have the peanut bar swing back around this way, and also Again, shove power back into its forward shield. So that way, it seems like it's taking quite a few hits to the forward shield. The Biscuit will keep going straight forward. It looks like these disruptors are about to slam into each other. But I'll have the Biscuit, the Pound Cake, I should say, turn slightly this way to keep these two disruptors in its port arc. Hopefully it'll target the one near death. Biscuit will go after this one, as will... Where are you? The Jam will swing back away around this way. As for the Honey, I'll have it angle slightly this way to hopefully keep this krill in its forward arc, because as I said, the green is the front, so I'm assuming it's going to be heading off in this direction, or at the very least turning this way. So hopefully, if it does go straight, it'll stay in the Honey's arc. And then the Peanut Bar, as I said, will turn this way and hopefully keep these two in its starboard arc, and then gain this one in its port arc. Alright, so on the plus side, this krill is dead. I saw the Peanut Bar laser the thing. On a not so good note, this disruptor managed to basically EMP the Peanut Bar, so I don't think it can just power output any right now. But it took a few hits but didn't die. However, this one did. This one did not, however. So I'll have the Pound Cake turn slightly more this way to keep it in its port arc. The Biscuit will keep going turn this way to keep this disruptor in its arc. The same with the Jam, and also have the Honey swing this way to focus on it. And I have over half my strike group focusing on this one because it's closest to the station, even though, again, fairly certain it's just a prop. I have the Peanut Bar swing this way to hopefully keep these guys, well, basically shoot this one with its starboard batteries and then reacquire this one with its port batteries. And then this krill I'll worry about when the disruptors are gone. Right, and that disruptor's now dead. Looks like the Pound Cake just wailed on this krill. And the Peanut Bar actually did reacquire this one and basically blow it to, well, puncture quite a few holes in it. This one is also dead by the looks of it. I didn't actually witness it die because I was focused more on, well, the primary battle group. So basically everybody does hard turns to reacquire the two remaining threats. And that disruptor's now dead. And that krill is now dead. So that's everybody. So, click to expand. Thank you. Haven replies with Marks down, Commander, and then Danbury or Darrybridge says if command doesn't perk up, we'll find out we're in the middle. Oh, I'm sorry. He actually says a civilian shuttle has been reported sunk out near the Akaran Research Orbital. This is going to start to filter back to the ground. Command doesn't perk up, we'll find out we're in the middle of a war from the civilian press before the official deployment order. AK, and then Valorant replies with AK, do we move out from here? And then the guy at command handling our phone calls says no new objectives for command. NSG-7s to wait further instructions. And then that's the end there. So the Peanut Bar has a worst scale of aggressive 5.6 and killed 12 things this battle, strongest enemy being the disruptor. Lost 93 shields, took 6 hull damage, so actually took a couple hits to the hull. I did not actually catch that. I thought the shields weren't broken. Of course, it probably got rammed, and that's probably how. Lost 74% of its shields, though, and did 477 points of damage. By contrast, the Pound Cake only killed 4 krill, lost 45 shields, and did lost only 14% of its shields, and did 178 points of damage. The Biscuit killed at least 1 disruptor and took 4 kills, well, managed to claim 4 kills this time. Fired 1 missile and lost 45 shields, equating to 30% of its shields, and did 274 damage. Also, its war skill is I think the war skill is strike group across, because everything so far is saying aggressive 5.6. Also, every ship that I have gains experience independent of, well, the rest of the strike group. So, you know, as they gain experience, they level up, they become more deadly, which is why if and when I ever do get the ability to field the butter, it's going to be, well, not as effective as anything else because it hasn't been used at all yet. And it's still going to be level 1 with no experience, whereas everything's probably going to be about 10-ish. Anyway, so the honey killed 4 things, and all of them krill. It lost 10 shields, which equates to 60%, and did 175 damage. The jam, on the other hand, killed 6 things, all of them krill again, and lost 43%, well, lost 28 points of shield, equating to 43% of its shield loss, and did 161 points of damage. So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the disruptors. I was kind of hoping nothing but krill would be here, but I was expecting more than 9 krill. But we managed to pull through with only the peanut bar actually taking hull damage. So everything's fine. I think hull damage gets repaired in between missions. I only think ammo-based weapons deplete mission over the course of various missions. Alright, so let us proceed. And we once again have, I think these 3 are the same. Yeah, we won't commit to numbers. Stack modus pushes for inquiry. And the Great Dice enjoys disappearing act. Our character, Valoran Dice, has a father who's an admiral. Somebody, I forget his first name. I might actually say it here. Yeah, Ferdinand Dice. Apparently a vice admiral and humanitarian chair of the Coalition Board of Directors. Anyway, he's missing and no one knows where he went. But that's kind of a moot-ish point right now. So apparently I can still proceed with the port side defense. So even though I completed the starboard side and fought off a whole bunch of krill, I can swing over to the port side and basically defend them there. So that mission hasn't changed, which I find interesting. I would have guessed that it was basically either or. And then we have access to this mission where it's beyond the bowsprit. Or spirit? No, spirit. I'm going to say bowsprit. Anyway, it has a mission description of neutral, and AK's pushed a 3rd nav point to my deck. Seems he suspects the origin point of the incoming pods is out here somewhere. He's been a bit flaky on the certifications, so I can't be entirely sure this objective has been sanctioned by command. Seems like a comment has some suspicions of his own he'd like investigated. Best keep that to myself, though. Another patrol group should be on the way to relieve us while we investigate. This nav point is quite a way out from DM2, so won't be able to turn back quick enough if things go south at the shipyards. I hope the Yardsman's turrets are more effective than they look. Explore the nav point and eliminate all Nautilid forces. So once again, I have 2 options. I can continue to defend the starport and, well, starbase I should say, which is apparently the only shipyard for our planet, which seems like a critical logistical flaw, but I didn't build the thing, so I don't know. And now I can fight the small fry. Now that I've taken care of the small fries, I can fight the bigger guns. Oh joy. Or I can completely abandon the shipyard completely in its entirety and go out exploring deep space of God knows where, because our mission secretary officer, the guy who basically relays orders from here to our strike group, says go here because he thinks that's where the Nautilid are coming from. So I have a choice once again, and I get to choose between keeping defending places or going out on the offensive, even though it says neutral war scale. And I have a feeling that if I go out and explore, the shipyard will suffer, because that's what happened the last time, and I'm fairly certain that's what will happen again. On the contrast, I can go fight bigger and bigger Nautilids with fewer and fewer weapons. Goody. So I have a choice to make. However, I shall be making that choice next time, because I'm going to call it here. Everybody stay safe from the plague, and have a good day.